I'm Jared, and I'm studying at the University of Pittsburgh. My major subject is criminal justice. It's my third year, and I'm focused on a career that makes a difference. Shadyside is my go-to place. It's lively, and it feels like everyone's together. One evening, my friends and I decided to hang out, playing video games and reminiscing. It was fun and a full laughter with them. At midnight, I decided it was time to head back. I had class early the next morning and usually slept on time. I said my goodbyes to my friends and left for my dorm. The air outside was refreshing. Walking back on Forbes Avenue was peaceful. I'm familiar with Shadyside streets. They feel almost like home. The streetlights here are just right. Not too bright, but enough to see clearly. I could only hear my own footsteps, which was comforting. But when I got to South Aiken Avenue, something felt wrong. It was quieter than usual, eerily so. I'm used to hearing some background noise, but there was something. This made my steps seem very loud. I became a bit nervous, as if someone were looking out for me. I tried to convince myself that I just felt a negative state of the brain. But at the same time, the anxiety could not go unnoticed. When I turned onto Walnut Street, things started. This place was darker than the others, so it was hard to see. Suddenly, looming up before me was this huge man who appeared rather menacing and, with threats plainly in his voice, gave expression of his claim, demanding I give him my wallet and telephone. My heart sped up and I felt scared. This wasn't how I expected my night to end. I'd never been involved in a physical fight before, but in that moment I reacted instinctively. It could have been fear or adrenaline driving me. I tried to defend myself by raising my arms, but the man was much stronger. During our struggle, I felt a sharp pain from a cut on my arm. Eventually, I managed to escape and started running. I didn't look back until I was far enough away to feel somewhat safe. My arm was bleeding and cold, and I was shivering by now, but at least I was out of direct danger. What should have been a simple walk home turned into a frightening nightmare. After the encounter, I managed to return to my dorm, feeling shaken with my heart still racing. The experience was hard to forget. The next day, with more courage, I decided to call the police. Reporting the incident was strange but necessary. I learned from the police that I wasn't the only one who had faced such an attack. There had been several similar incidents. This information upset me, but also spurred me into action. I couldn't stand by and watch this continue. I began collaborating with police and participating in a community watch program. I was fully engaged, talking to neighbors and spreading awareness. It felt meaningful, more significant than my usual daily routine. When the police planned a sting operation to catch the perpetrator and his associates, I was involved. Facing him again was nerve-wracking, but this time we were prepared. The operation was filled with adrenaline as we chased him through alleys, but in the end, we successfully apprehended him and his group. My name is Emily. My friend Lily and I were stuck in jobs that just never seemed to give us a break. We had to get away. Lily could stare stress in the face, have it blow up like a balloon, and then pop it before jumping right into the next adventure, thinking she could conquer anything. Me? I tend to watch where I step, always thinking twice. We both agreed we were desperate for some peace, something completely different from our daily grind. So we picked a resort in the Colorado Rockies, drawn by its promises of tranquility and stunning scenery. We imagined a week of doing nothing but enjoying nature and forgetting about work. When we got there, it looked like it came straight from a postcard, lodged in the mountains, rustic and cozy. The staff greeted us with smiles, in its literal sense. What we had for the first 2 days was stepping into a different world that work emails and deadlines could not follow us into. The days were spent trekking the timeless wilderness and pampering myself during spa sessions that melted my stress away. Every evening, joining other guests around the bonfire with stories and laughter against a backdrop of the stars. In a few days, I began to notice what I had not been sensitive to before. First, this was not so big, just some little things. Some staff stared a bit too long. Our conversation suddenly stopped when Lily and I walked up. One time, this guy was working here and insisted on showing me a shortcut back to our cabin. Something in his eyes just gave me the creeps. I said thanks, but no, it left me feeling awkward. Lily just shrugged and said I was paranoid. But the thought that something was fishy would not just leave me. Do you know when you have a gut feeling sometimes? It was one of those times. Then, one night, everything changed. I actually overheard two staff members talking when they thought no one was around. They talked about the resort, but not in the way that the service is great or anything like that. They were talking about human smuggling right here at the resort. My heart dropped. It hit me then, the danger we were in. It wasn't just my imagination. This place wasn't safe. Panic set in fast. First thing in the morning, Lily and I tried to leave, but every attempt was blocked. The roads out were suddenly under construction, and our phones couldn't get any signal. It was like the whole place had turned against us. The night I decided to escape was the longest of my life. I left a quick note for Lily, telling her to keep cool, and sneaked past the security. I walked amidst dark mountains, just the moonlight guiding me. Even the sounds shot me up, thinking something was behind my back. Pain and fear threaded through me, just thinking that if I turned back, then most probably I would get caught. When I finally stumbled into the ranger station, I was out of breath and terrified, but I managed to get the words out. The rangers acted fast, and soon the police were all over the resort. They arrested the bad guys and shut the place down. Other guests were safe, and the whole smuggling ring was exposed. Seeing Lily again was a huge relief. We were safe but shaken. Our view of the world had changed. We realized that not all places were safe and that we had to be careful. Reflecting on everything, from the excitement of our trip to the fear of that night, I'm thankful. I am thankful to be here, to have Lily, and for the quick actions of the rescuers. I've learned to trust my gut and recognize my strength. I'm Ethan, a plain guy with huge dreams, busting nights in some bar in this lively town. This special place is full of life and stories that make one return every night. Oddly charming, this bar is like a second home to me. This is where I fit in with the combined and odd people, all seeming to find their way here. After the bar closes, I hang around a little, talk, joke with my coworkers, and unwind. Moments like these punctuate my night. This sense of togetherness in our busy lives. And then it's time for me to head home. I tried one night and was lazier than I'm used to when I gave in to this quaint old-timey gas station for a drink. It felt like stepping into a different era. Everything was quiet and still. So here I am standing on the side of the road, taking sips of my drink and making eye contact with this guy who's in his car. Well, not quite eye contact, because that kind of turns into 2 seconds of eye contact that becomes a stare that sets off my brain. I tried shaking off the feeling, convincing myself I was just tired, most likely imagining things. But inside, I knew something was wrong. This wasn't the usual thing that would make me nervous. When he asked for the phone, something in me hesitated. I did not know if I should do it. I had a tussle between needing to be helpful and some nagging caution at the back of my mind. Not to be rude, I agreed. However, when I got into his car, the atmosphere changed. It was like I had walked into another world. Only this time, one wherein that friendly facade of the man had disappeared to expose a far more sinister intent as he brought out a knife. My heart jumped with panic as he threatened me, with the blade shining ominously in the light. I was so terrified, but at the same time, had the worst overwhelming will to survive. Quick thoughts about how I would get out of this came to mind, and then, When he was momentarily distracted, I grabbed for the knife. It was a desperate, adrenaline-induced move. The struggle was fierce, but somehow I wrenched the knife free. Without a second thought, I pulled the handle of the car and bolted out, smashing against the ground hard as the car zoomed away. I lay there for a minute or so, gasping for breath. The silence of the night seemed to press in on me. Each sound was magnified, making my heart pound even harder. It suddenly hit me that I had to get out of there, and I had to put some distance between him and the car and me. I had to run. I bolted. My legs were taking off and moving faster than they ever could. It was like the fear of being chased was an actual thing. Eventually, I found a payphone and called the police, my voice shaking as I reported what had happened. It was a huge relief to talk to someone and to take this first step toward safety. But it didn't do anything to dissipate the terror of those moments in the car. After the police took my statement, they never found the man. Knowing he had been out there had made every shadow seem threatening. Every stranger was a potential danger. I always felt watched. My walks home turned into one glance over the shoulder after another. The city I love, brimming with life and energy just a few years ago, now seems to have transformed into a labyrinth of threats that loom large. I could not go on living in fear. I didn't go back into the bar. I really struggled with that one, saying goodbye to all the people from work. They really were like family, but I was just too scared of what might happen at night. My last walk home was a nightmare. Every little noise would make me jump. It's weird how one scary moment changed how I see everything. Reflecting on this incident, it dawned on me that life was very uncertain and full of all kinds of hidden risks. Trusting complete strangers, whom I'd never given a second thought to before, seemed more like a game to me, and I was not willing to become a party to it. I only looked ahead to find that I would have to go another way, hopefully getting away from the danger of the night. It was a scary experience, but one that taught me about my resilience and how one has to learn and listen to one's instincts.